In the picturesque village of Eldermore, nestled between rolling green hills and a sparkling river, Grace was a beacon of light. Her radiant smile could brighten the gloomiest day, and her intelligence and talent set her apart. Whether it was singing at the harvest festivals, solving disputes among villagers, or tending to the elderly, Grace's presence was cherished by all. She had a natural gift for making everyone feel valued, which made her the pride of the village. But not everyone was enamored with Grace. Susan, her stepsister, harbored a growing resentment. Though Susan was beautiful in her own right, she lived in Grace's shadow. The villagers often compared her to Grace, and no matter how hard Susan tried, she was always seen as second best. What began as envy turned into bitterness, and bitterness eventually gave way to a dark desire. One evening, as the golden hues of the setting sun bathed the village, Susan devised a sinister plan. If Grace were to disappear, Susan believed she could finally bask in the admiration she craved. She remembered an old legend passed down in whispers about a reclusive witch who lived deep in the darkwood forest. The witch was said to have the power to grant any wish, but her help always came at a price. Under the cover of night, Susan ventured into the forest. The gnarled trees loomed ominously, and the air was thick with an eerie silence. After hours of searching, she stumbled upon the witch's cottage, a crooked structure surrounded by wilting flowers and glowing fungi. The witch, an ancient woman with piercing eyes and a voice like rustling leaves, listened intently as Susan explained her plight. "I want Grace to be invisible," Susan declared, her voice trembling with both fear and determination. The witch cackled, her laughter echoing through the forest. "Invisibility is a powerful curse," she warned. "Once cast, it cannot be undone by ordinary means. Are you certain this is what you desire?" Susan hesitated for only a moment before nodding. "Yes. She stands in my way. I want to shine." The witch handed Susan a vial filled with a shimmering, silvery liquid. "Pour this into her drink under the light of a full moon. She will fade from sight, and no one will remember her existence except you." Susan returned home, clutching the vial tightly. That night, during dinner, she poured the potion into Grace's cup. As the moonlight streamed through the window, Grace took a sip. Almost immediately, her form began to waver, as if she were a reflection in a disturbed pond. The villagers at the table gasped as Grace vanished before their eyes. The next morning, the villagers woke up with no memory of Grace. Her absence left an inexplicable void, but they couldn't pinpoint why. Susan, however, remembered everything. She relished the newfound attention as she stepped into the spotlight. People began to admire her beauty, her charm, and her efforts to help the community. But Susan's victory was short-lived. The burden of remembering Grace, while no one else did, began to weigh heavily on her. She started hearing Grace's laughter in the wind, feeling her touch in the rustling leaves, and seeing her shadow in her dreams. The guilt gnawed at her, and the admiration she once sought felt hollow. One day, as she walked through the village square, she overheard a child singing a melody. It was Grace's favorite song. Tears welled up in Susan's eyes as she realized that no potion could erase Grace's essence. She was still present in the hearts of the villagers, even if they didn't remember her. Desperate to undo her mistake, Susan returned to the darkwood forest. The witch was waiting, as if she had anticipated her return. "You wish to reverse the curse," the witch said, her tone devoid of surprise. Susan nodded, tears streaming down her face. "I'll pay any price." The witch studied her for a long moment. "To bring Grace back, you must sacrifice your greatest desire. Are you willing to relinquish your need for admiration?" Without hesitation, Susan agreed. The witch chanted an incantation, and a brilliant light engulfed the forest. When the light faded, Susan found herself back in the village square. Standing before her, visible and radiant as ever, was Grace. The villagers rushed to Grace, showering her with affection, as if she had never been gone. Susan, however, felt a profound sense of peace. She no longer craved their attention. Instead, She focused on mending her relationship with Grace. She confessed everything, expecting anger, but Grace forgave her. From that day forward, Susan and Grace worked together to uplift the village. Grace's light shone brighter than ever, and Susan found fulfillment not in admiration, but in the joy of being part of something greater than herself. Aldermore flourished, and the bond between the stepsisters became the foundation of the village's strength. Though the villagers never knew the full story, they often marveled at the deep connection between Grace and Susan, unaware of the trials they had overcome to find harmony.